What up? What up? Uh, it's Chris from Brooklyn Wildlife. And I want to address some questions and give some answers. People keep asking, like, what is black land ownership? Who is in black land ownership? And basically, how are you pushing for black land ownership when one of your partners is a Russian immigrant, your other partner that you're working with is your relationship partner who's a white woman, and you got these people involved that aren't black? All right, cool. Let's address that. The idea came from this mind here. I went out to Colorado and came back and was like, yo, as black people, we need to own land. And I sat down with the homie Marcus, who's black, and he was like, yo, Vermont. And I sat down with the other homie and I was like, yo, we need to own land. And they were like, yo, look into this. And I sat down with the other homie who's black and they were like, yo, we need to. And we sat there and we were like, yo, if all of us save $5,000 over the course of the next year to a year and a half, we can buy undeveloped land somewhere and at least start the process, start learning how to buy land. Melissa heard the idea and was like, yo, I'm down to help. Vladik heard the idea and was like, yo, I'm down to help. Christina heard the idea and was like, yo, I'm down to help. And I believe in cooperative economics. I believe in collaborative economics. So as long as the idea is rooted in the true understanding of this project is to help other black people raise money, purchase land, centralize resources, figure out the other black developers, the other roofers, the other plumbers, the other electricians, the black architects, the black people that run their own banks or their own credit unions that can assist with private funding, to find black donors that are in the nonprofit sector and philanthropy world, and to start generating discussion around this issue. And in doing my research, I then found out, like, yo, only 2% of rural land, if not less, is owned by black people. Less than 2% of the farmers in this country are black. So we got work to do. And if that means Melissa, who's not black, is down to help and put in work, I'm going to take that help and I'm going to appreciate it. I'm going to say thank you. And if Vladik is down to help, that's what's up. I'm going to appreciate that because they support the concept. And at the end of the day, if there are 3 or 4 people going up on land and one of them is black, we're getting somewhere. If someone's like, well, it's better for you not to have land because you had some white people involved, that's crazy to me. If anything is, whoever can help right now needs the help, and we're going to get this land and make sure that more black people can get land and make sure that we do the parts where we might lose some money, where we might make some mistakes so that we can make the book, so that we can help other people do it easier. We can find funding for people. We can help people organize and strategize, help people with fundraising. So, I mean, even at this point right now, our first fundraiser is to generate some money to send my homie Nosa Foster, who's based out of Mobile, Alabama, up to the National Black Farmers Conference in Montgomery, right outside of Montgomery, Alabama. So our first endeavor is raising money for the homie in another part of the country so that he can go participate in activities supporting other black people. So, I mean, I'm not really afraid of the conversation. If anyone ever wants to ask me how I feel about this stuff, if anyone wants to know, well, like, what's the hierarchy? We're not doing hierarchies. We are all in this together. And so, sure, the concept kind of came from my mind. Yeah, I bought the website. I'm paying for the t-shirts. I'm paying for the mugs and the other promotional material. I'm working with the web developer. But if the other homies are like, yo, we'll tell our friends. Yeah. If the other homies are like, yo, I'm not black, but I want to donate some money. Yeah. We got other homies that are lawyers and know how to do stuff I don't know how to do and they're not black. Yeah. We're going to work together. You know what I'm saying? And it's in collaborative work. They understand the cause. They're doing the research too. When I met up with the homie Ren, he is not black. He's an architect. And we started talking and he was like, yo, with the stuff you're doing at that land and the property down in Maryland, because we went down to Mill Shore Point, there are all these like beaches that were black owned. They're like private areas or like small municipalities where black people purchased land because they weren't allowed to hang out with white people back in the 40s and 50s. And when I was telling him about it, he was like, yo, y'all may want to look into getting some historic preservation money. I'll help y'all. And he did his thesis on that. And he has access to information I don't have. Of course, I welcome that help. I appreciate that there are people who aren't black who see the need for what we're doing. And they understand what the goal and focus is. He isn't saying, all right, well, then I'm going to bring in all these other people. Oh, we're going to bring in this white firm. Nah, he was like, yo, let's figure out how to get this money that usually has been isolated and set aside just for white people by the government or by local municipalities and make sure y'all get it. Make sure you have access to what will be equitable. And so I'm looking at it on a real level of like, what is it going to take? It's going to take some non-black people to help. It's going to take some non-black people to sell us land in the first place so that we can then sell land to other black people or donate land to other black causes or help other black people start their businesses on that land. My homie was like, yo, I'm trying to do this event and I'm trying to find a black porta potty company. And it's like, well, you know what? Part of any company, it means they have to have a place to run a business. And if you don't own the land, then you're a renter and you're going to be renting an office. You're going to be renting a warehouse. You're going to be renting space from other people. We need to own it if we want to be able to run our businesses. We need to own the land if we want to be able to grow food that's healthy and exchange it with other farmers and other people who are growing healthy food and that have a concern for the community involved. We need to own the land if we want to have more say in what's going on with the school districts, if we want to have more say in what's going on in terms of stopping and shutting down this prison industrial complex. We need to own the land if we want to understand more of our own health and health advocacy. Because right now, when you look at city council, when you look at municipalities, the people that make the decisions are developers. It's people with land because they get the money. When you own the land, you build on the land, and then the people that run businesses have to rent from you. The people that need places to live have to rent from you. And you're like, you may say, well, yo, you're talking about rural America, and why would we want to go into rural America? This all started as rural America. America didn't begin with these huge metropolis mega cities with 8 million people in it. And their cities are just going to keep expanding out into rural areas. And people who live in the cities right now, who don't look like us, are buying the land in rural areas. Developers see the progress of growth and are like, in 60 years and 100 years, people who live in New York are going to have to move to somewhere outside of New York. People that live in Chicago are going to have to move to places outside of Chicago. People that live in D.C. are going to have to move to places outside of D.C. and not just the suburbs. These areas that are rural now are going to turn into larger areas of aggregation of people. And part of it is technology has changed. One reason that these cities came to be was they're all along waterways. And if you think about how people traveled and got to America via water a lot of the times. If you look at how trade happened in America up and down the Mississippi River, through the Hudson Valley, off of waterways. But now that we have technology, we're able to do things away from some of these waterways. Now that we have irrigation, we can do some things away from these waterways. Now that we have solar, wind, and other forms of generating energy, there are things we can do now that we couldn't do 100, 150 years ago. So who do you know that's a black-owned solar energy person, wind farmer? You need land for all those things. You need a lot of land for all those things. But we're probably going to have to work with some non-black people that are like-minded in order to set some of these things up. So, like, don't get trapped. Don't get confused and think that, like, oh, Chris can't be pro-black because he hangs out with white people. That's a trap, man. Yeah, don't get caught up and think, like, oh, this isn't a pro-black movement because there are non-black people involved. In reality, I think in a certain way, that's taken somewhat of a Eurocentric point of view of thinking that everything has to be homogenous or insular. My view is all life started out of Africa, and in terms of humanity. And all people then come out of the African diaspora. And so we've always been inclusive. At the end of the day, I look at it like if our project helps elucidate and bring light to the fact that women have been excluded from land ownership as well, that should happen. But again, it starts with black land ownership. If our research and our endeavors open up the reality of what happens to immigrants that move to this country and their attempts to own land and how they've been displaced, because some of these people shouldn't even be considered immigrants. They were indigenous to America. Like the whole southwest part of America, whether it's in Texas, California, parts of Arizona, and Mexico, that was Mexico. Those people got pushed out in wars and now are coming back and being treated like immigrants, and they don't have access to land. If our project of black land ownership elucidates that, it should. If our project brings about the reality of what it's like being a trans person or openly non-gender binary person and trying to go get a loan or trying to get some type of support in your business endeavors, that's what our project should do. It is about black land ownership. It is about, in reality, me, my family, my friends, my community, people that look like me, people of African descent being displaced in this country, people that are Caribbean who come here, people that are part of the diaspora being a landless people in whatever part of the Americas they're in. This should bring that to the forefront. This should bring that conversation to light and talk about the history of the USDA and some of their racist practices, the history of how credit is used to not give us bank loans, the history of banks not giving us money or loans, the history of insurance companies not paying out when they were supposed to when things happen to our farms, the history of how the Homesteading Act helped a whole lot of white people get property and they didn't allow black people to utilize it. There are tons of things that should come out of this endeavor that are about blackness, black culture, and that bring together the black people that care about it. But it also requires that we work with collaborators, in my mind. And it requires that we work with people that are like-minded and see the importance. And not all of them are going to be black, and they should be a part of it. If you're a person out there watching this and you're not black and you're like, well, yo, I want to help, I want to be involved, but I'm not black and I feel weird talking to my friends about it. Don't feel weird talking to your friends about it. Tell your friends, whether you're white, whether you're from Japan, whether you're from wherever around the world, and you're like, yo, I support black land ownership. And they're like, why are you not black? And it's like, because look at what happened in America to people of African descent. It's a travesty. And a regular human can be empathetic and see that. And if you have a way to help, whether, again, you have finances, whether you know architects, you know lawyers, you know business people, you know people with land, we need the help. And we need the people that are like-minded and committed to it. And it's going to take more than just us to initiate this process. But again, keep in mind the purpose of the process. It is black land ownership. That's the website, blacklandownership.com. What we have on Facebook is Black Rural Land Advocates. All right. And so as long as we don't forget the goal, we don't forget the purpose. I'm looking at this in the same way like Booker T. Washington or like the homie that's like who started the Tuskegee Institute. They started with building their own bricks. They built their own schoolhouse to then teach themselves how to farm and teach themselves how to do the trades and teach themselves the plumbing and the electricity. And at a certain point, of course, he went up north and got philanthropy money from non-black people. Of course, he took money from people in local town in Tuskegee, Alabama, who wanted to buy their bricks because their bricks were of such high quality. And he worked with local business owners that weren't black. But the goal was always in support of the black community in his area, the black community in general, and the betterment of the situation with black people nationwide. And so we gotta be smart and be aware that like oftentimes you should be cautious and you should say, well, yo, why are white people involved in a black-oriented activity? Why are non-black people concerned? Maybe there are ulterior motives. Maybe there's some things going on dealing with influence. But anyone who knows me knows I don't let people influence me, man. I can't be bought out. There isn't a person that could say I ever sold out or said that I changed my point of view or shut the hell up because of some white person, black person, any type of person, somebody with money. I'd speak my mind. I do it with my heart. All right, sorry, my camera ran out of space. But like I said, man, this is a very serious endeavor for me. This is something I've been researching, working on. This does come from out of here, out of this brain. And if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up, send me a note, text me when you see me in real life, ask me. But also do a little research. Keep in mind, like in the age of sound bites and this idea of everything is understandable with like a quick pitch or a 15-second elevator type of presentation, some issues are a bit more complicated. And so when you look at what we're doing with black land ownership and who's involved and why they're involved and what their attachment is, you may need to have a discussion. You may have to sit down with me. You may have to really start excavating what we're doing here, because this is a bigger topic than just like for fun. You know, this is something that really extends to some youth education programs we're talking about. We're looking into business endeavors. We're looking into some nonprofit work. We're looking into doing fundraisers for other folks. My homie was like, yo, if I would donate to you, but I want the money to go to supporting people that are trying to start their supermarkets in Nebraska. Bet. But I don't know a lot of people that do that. So you might have to find me those supermarkets. You might have to find me the black people in certain parts of the country that you want to support, and we'll figure out how to support them, you know. But let's keep the communication open. Let's work together. It is collaborative, collective work, you know. And peace and love. See y'all soon.